we are back. Okay, so where I left off. There's some shady shit that's been going on. They're trying to recruit somebody into it, trying to deceive. You know, I think that this ice cream mayor already knows what I know when it comes to looking at this, but he's still trying to recruit all of these minions. And this isn't going to end well for these people, largely in part because they're not able to recruit very specific people for their directives. I don't remember the names of a couple of these people. I don't really know, you know, a lot of these characters. But I know Lumpy Space Princess. I don't even know Jake and Rainicorn's kid's name, but I know Lumpy Space Princess. So, and that's the one I resonate with. So, like, that's somebody that, like, holds some sort of greater significance. They aren't just a minion, and they've been this, you know, there's been this scheme to try to recruit this person. And it's just not going as planned. Okay. Our next card. I love these nails, but geez, okay. The Six of Wands in the upright. Are these like little crackers? Okay, so the Six of Wands in the upright. Is a sign of victory. And so directly after kind of refusing to follow these certain directives comes this sense of victory. Or maybe this is actually still... I don't know yet if this is... which side this victory is on. Because these look like crackers. They look like food people, which would almost make me think that they're under the ice cream mayor. That's like what it's feeling as. And like, you know, in the beginning, like all of these pilgrim-y minions of Abraham Lincoln's, like, they're also in a state of celebration. So I'm not sure, I mean, this is up with them. So I'm not sure if it's those same people and they're under this concept of victory, and we're going to find that that's not exactly what's happening. Or if this is a victory from these directives not being followed. Let's see what the next card is. The Magician in the reverse. Oh, this card is crazy. Oh, jeez. Whew. This is making me feel crazy. I mean, okay, I kind of remember this character. I have seen him in a couple episodes, and he is insane. He is a crazy person. He actually has, like, Wabajack energy. Like this, like, chaos. He's a chaos magician. Like, he with him comes all this chaos, right? Ah, jeez. Okay, so one, he has, like, boxes. Like, the entire background is just boxes filled with dirt. Which is making me think of a couple things. First and foremost, like I said, like the cactus, this oracle cards that I haven't brought out yet. Saw the cactus, and as the cactuses have been resonating with me lately. I made a image with a post yesterday. That was a photo I took of some cacti I found on one of my hikes, and beautiful cacti, really pretty picture. They have their little flower buds on them. They're not bloomed, but they have their pink flower buds on them. Real super long spikes on them. Real pretty cacti. And I put something along the lines of no gods, no masters. We are both creator and creation. And then on the actual image, it says, we worship the dirt, the sun, the air, and the rain. And when I was thinking of that, like, I'm aware that to many that resonates in a sort of negative way. Like, we worship the dirt, we worship the rain, like the thunderstorms, like these things, like, you know, we have hurricanes going on that are destroying people's lives, and like that's what you worship. But like, yeah, yes, and like I don't consider myself any different than a cactus, or any other life form. The birds and the bees don't worship Jesus. They worship the sun. They worship dirt. They worship flowers. They worship air. They worship the rain. They worship each other. You know, that's their worship. It comes naturally. They're not building churches and then having these rituals to follow in order to survive. And they will out-survive us unless we end up killing them. You know what I mean? And like, so there's this concept of not having these concepts of gods and masters, or us ourselves being those things, but being wholly connected with the universe. So I see that as a general positive. I see dirt as a general positive, but this, well, and like, I think in part because this card is in the reverse, right? So it's resonating negatively. These boxes of dirt are reminding me of a couple things. They're reminding me of gossip. You have a whole bunch of dirt on all these different people. This chaos magician, like, has a whole bunch of dirt on a whole bunch of people, right? Okay. But on top of that, like, it's also, I heard that song by 9 Inch Nails, You Can Have It All, My Empire of Dirt. And that's what he has, like this empire of dirt. So, right, so he has all this dirt on all these people. There's a lot of gossip here. But it's like essentially going to be rendered bullshit, more or less. So I do feel a lot, this card is highly energetic, and there's a lot of trepidation. There's a lot of anxiety in this card. This person brings with them a lot of anxiety. A lot of people are absolutely terrified of this person, and all this dirt that they have. And it's in part, I mean, he's got a wound on his leg. No, that's his medicine bag. He has some type of, it's probably fucking poison or like a magic dust that he uses to fuck with people. This little bag that he has strapped to his leg. God, what a nut. This guy's a total nut. He has a griffin, a tiny little baby griffin, a lion with wings, trapped in a jar, as if it were like a ship in a bottle. I'm assuming he's using it for his magic, right? He has this egg on a stick, which is like, reminding me of like having yolk on your face. Is that what they say? Something about broken egg on your face. Something, I can't think of what it's called, like having yolk on your face, which is kind of, the phrase means kind of looking like a fool in front of people, and everybody sees it and you can't really deny it, because the evidence is right there. There's also this skull with all these worms and a plant growing out of it, which is reminding me of death magic. But I'm not seeing that in the negative necessarily. Maybe that's just because of my personal beliefs. The plant growing out of it seems positive almost to me. I mean, he's a chaos magician. Not everything about him is innately negative. It's all everything. It's all a bit of everything. There's this bowl of, I don't know if you can see it, there's this bowl that he has of like gunk that's flying out, right? So that is reminding me of this story I just made on my Instagram a couple days ago. My sense of humor is wildly inappropriate and unhinged. That's like my whole thing. I think it's funny. Because I think it's funny. I was eating a bowl of oatmeal the other day, just like this. It was a blue bowl, just like that, and it was filled with all this gunk, like this oatmeal. I thought it was funny because it's like this sloppy mess that you have to kind of like, when you're eating it, right? Like, so it's like, so I made a video where I'm like eating it like that, and it's already kind of a gross and uncomfortable video to watch because of that. I don't look good in the video either. I don't have like any makeup on. I'm like, it's like an unflattering angle. I'm not trying to look good. That was the point. And I'm just like sitting there casually eating a bowl of oatmeal, and then on it I put something like this, like me impersonating what I look like when I'm watching dudes come and on the internet or whatever, and I have headphones in, and I'm like, and I have my headphones in so that my roommates don't have to hear it because I have the volume turned all the way up. And like in the video you can hear me like eating this oatmeal, and you can just hear how sloppy it is. It's supposed to be an uncomfortable video. He also has, like, instead of a wand in the regular Rider-Waite, this is usually like a selenite wand, a double-ended selenite wand that he has in his hand. Some type of wand. But instead of that, he has, like, it's like a cup. It's wooden, but it's like a cup, and it has, like, these, like, little antlers on it. So it's giving me this feeling of, like, a Viking sort of cup. This dude is just utter chaos. But this is in the reverse. So it's like he doesn't have any power. This one's giving me a weird vibe. These two cards together. Let's get an oracle. I was going to do this when we started this out and just start it with an oracle. I decided against it. I need to start listening to my intuition more. So we're going to do an oracle card right now to set the stage for what it is that we are talking about. Okay. Loop. Beautiful card. Wild. Okay. This is giving me a lot of different feelings. Okay, so it's loop, and it's a sailor's knot. It's tying a knot. It's not just a loop. It's a negative. It's a negative. Like, it's tying, not necessarily that knots are negative, but like he's tying this loop in his head, which is like tying a knot in his head, right? And that is giving me, well, one, the fact that he's a sailor and that he has his ear pierced. He reminds me of my ex. But he's also giving me the vibes of, like, this old friend of mine. There's the moon and the stars in his head. And then there's this loop. And it isn't tied yet, but it's getting there. Like, sailors are known for their knots. They're nautical. Get it? And generally that's a positive, because they're not, like, the importance of them learning how to be proficient in their knot tying is how they make sure that they, like, have their anchors set, and that, you know, there's different knots that help with the sails and different things like that, different knots for fishing, all these different kinds of knots. But this loop also reminds me of, like, karma, like a karmic loop. Okay, so this coming out after The stage is being set. There's a disagreement. They're not able to recruit everybody the way that they intended. There's a lot of noise being made, but it's not exactly what they want to hear. And like the fact that this is like in his head, right behind his face, is almost like he's wearing a mask. And once you remove the mask, you see that there's actually this knot. So it moves into, still I don't know what the Six of Wands, which side it's resonating with. But it's giving me this feeling of there are people in celebration, very well might be all of these people from the beginning, thinking that judgment is finally coming in their favor. It is a sense of victory, you know. And this person, like, that's riding this horse has all these medals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Like 10 medals. Feels positive, but it's leading into this Magician, which would normally be a positive. It's giving me such a weird vibe, but that's because it's like chaos, this energy of chaos. And in the reverse, it's kind of like you don't got to be afraid of it, and you don't got to be afraid of all this dirt. It's an empire of dirt. It's bullshit, essentially. He is pointing at his boot because he has his leg kicking up, and it's a purple boot. Which is being grounded with your intuition. Okay. This is a little complex. Leads into the High Priestess. Beautiful. Wild. These cards. So it's Princess Buttercup. I mean, Bubblegum. Bubblegum? Is that her name? Princess Bubblegum? I think that's her name. It's like one of the main characters. I obviously haven't watched the show in an extremely long time. I think that's her name, Princess Bubblegum. Behind her is a giant falcon, or golden eagle, and this weird beastie creature with a detached third eye, and its third eye is like different than, like, the beast itself looks kind of cute, but this third eye is kind of creepy. It's right behind her. And then she doesn't even quite look like herself, to be honest, but she's in between what is normally Boaz and Joachim, but in here it's P&B, Princess Bubblegum. I'm noticing that these two scepters on either side of her with the diamonds on top, with these gems on top, have 8s at their bases. There's an 8 right here, and there's an 8 right here. The first thing I noticed when I looked at this card was that she's not wearing any shoes, and she has her feet rested on multiple different books, which is like Princess Bubblegum is like known for, I think that's her name. It feels silly to keep saying it if it's not her name, but she's known for being incredibly smart. She's a scientist. She's a scientist. So like her entire foundation is on education. And that's why there's like all these potions. She has all these potions at her feet. It's so hard to see. Like there's a whole bunch of different types of potions, like a chemistry set. at her feet. She also has a donut and a cookie at her feet. But then they have like these cords that are plugged into them. This one has a cord that's coming around. This one has multiple cords that are plugged right into them. And the cords come up here to the top of these towers. And her face, like, she doesn't even look like she normally looks. And like her face looks almost like you know, this is weird, but like it seems like she's like doing something wicked. Like it almost makes me think if I saw like Finn always had a crush on her and she used to be super, super sweet and she seemed really innocent and she seemed almost kind of naive, but like very in tune with her education, but like not so intuitive, or like Finn was more intuitive and not well educated. And she would almost like, then it started getting where she would like make Finn feel kind of stupid and she would make him feel like young and like make him feel like he just wasn't like good enough for her. And I almost feel like they're like, by the time I stopped watching it, like she kind of started to take on this like bad energy where she was no longer like this sweet, kind, beautiful princess that cared about love and all of these good things in her kingdom. I don't remember if she like got possessed by the lich or something, but like she ended up like, yeah, I just remember her not being terribly nice. And in this image, like, she looks like she's just up to no good. And it's almost like these plugs, like it almost reminds me of like the donut and the cookie look very happy, right? But they also have their eyes closed too, and they like she has her eyes closed, but then she has her eyebrows down, so she looks like she's doing something bad. She feels fine about it, but it just doesn't look good. But then like the donut and the cookie look like they're very much at peace, and it's almost giving me this vibe of like the Matrix. You know, in the Matrix when Neo initially wakes up into the Matrix, like when he wakes up out of the Matrix and sees the world in which he exists, where he's like plugged into a vat of goo and like he has all these cords attached to him, right? Starts pulling out all those cords. That's what it's like, where they're like sleeping peacefully because they're attached to this. It's almost like that's the vibe that I'm getting from this. 8-8 is like a sign of cycles, eternal cycles, kind of, and it's giving me this vibe of like her controlling this matrix, convincing everybody that everything is all fine and dandy. And it's like feminism, like she's pink, she's all powerful, seemingly positive, right? Because she's just concerned with the education, and like she has this whole beautiful candy kingdom, and she's Princess Bubblegum, right? Like she's this sweet, pleasant thing, but like there's something nefarious underneath the surface. And like it's almost like you can see like all the pink that's coming down here. Like it almost looks like it's like a pink goo. Like it could be like just melted bubblegum or whatever, but like it could also just be like the blood of the people. You know, that's harsh or whatever, but that's the vibe I'm getting. It's like that she's actually some type of tyrant, and like in the name of feminism, and it's all just for the power of the truth. But like she isn't necessarily actually given to the truth. It's she has everybody enslaved in this matrix, and they're all comfortable in that. And it's like, again, right next to the Six of Wands, which is like victory moving towards that. None of these crackers, it's so funny, the crackers, these white men. I was looking at the side because what I was just thinking is that none of these crackers look particularly feminine. They all look androgynous, you know, they're fucking crackers. But as I was just saying it, I realized that like it sounds like I'm using a derogatory term for white people. And I'm like, oh, none of these crackers look like women. And they're all like headed with the sense of victory towards the High Priestess, towards Princess Bubblegum in her femininity, and like this whole matrix that she's built up of the power of the feminine based off of these sciences. But a lot of it's just witchcraft. Like, it's not actually real. It's just a manipulation. And like, she just doesn't look to be trusted in that. And so it's almost like, because it's coming from the magician, it's almost like this chaos, all these feelings of chaos are like, chaos is so wild because it's taking both sides at all times constantly, right? And so it's almost like, even in the reverse, in the upright, it'd be like a determination to bring chaos in a certain direction, but in the reverse, it's almost like I said, it has that Wabajack energy, like it's still going to do the chaotic thing. There's no way around it. That's just its nature. But that it's almost like it's bringing in, it's like the chaos is being used to bring in whatever this last card is going to be, really. It feels like a sense of success, but not necessarily like victory in the same sort of way. And this doesn't feel like it's wholly connected to these other cards that way. With him pointing at his blue boot, it's almost like we're moving away from what has been definitively projected. We're moving away from the smoke screen. We're moving away from the matrix. We're moving directly into the matrix being disarmed. I guess there's no sign here necessarily that it is actually being disarmed, really, fully, but the Six of Wands, these crackers are moving in the direction of victory. Victoriously, they're moving in the direction of this High Priestess, which almost is making me feel like that's like the illusion that I've been referring to. Like, it's like this rainbow energy that's happening is actually moving all of this sense of abundance directly down onto new growth and flowers. And, you know, it's something that seems like it's positive and seems like it's so pleasant, and all of these innocent people have gotten involved with it and are making a lot of noise with it. But those that actually have their intuition are like, no, I'm not going to be a part of this. And that's kind of where these two different sides are coming from. They're two sides of the same beast, but in the reverse, it's kind of reflective of like there being something beyond that beast, something beyond these perceived concepts of one or the other side. And so like these crackers are moving towards Princess Bubblegum as if like they're moving confident of their success to essentially overcome. But this chaos magician, even in the reverse, is, well, it's almost like this like other dimension between the matrix that she's in control of and the reality in which we exist, where there's a smoke screen. These cards are quite similar in that way. You know, and they're depicting essentially the same, they're two heads of the same beast, right? But in the reverse, it's because there's change happening. This Six of Wands, there's change happening. Okay, let's see what this last card is. Oh, geez, the Six of Cups in the upright. What a strange card. Normally, the Six of Cups is like a very pleasant card to look at and is very reminiscent of nostalgia. This entire deck has a lot of random feelings of nostalgia for me. But in this, like, it's almost like, and maybe if this is representative of a certain episode, or part of the show, like, it would make more sense. But what I'm seeing is, like, there's all these shadows, there's all these dark, scary, beastly, devilish characters. And it's almost like they're like trying to take Jake's flowers. Like they're trying to take his happiness. They're trying to take this away from him. And he's standing firm like, no, I'm not afraid of you. I'm not afraid of you, and you're not going to take this from me. You're all just illusions. You're shadows. You're not even real. And I'm not falling for it. Let's get another oracle card. This is a wild read. I don't know if you're getting anything out of this, because there's so much that's hard for me to like articulate. Because the second I start talking about one thing, it makes me think of these other things, when like in my head there's like 5 other things that are going on, and it's difficult. But these cards come out very easily. Mercury in the reverse. Let me look this up really quick. What does Mercury mean spiritually? I already know that it's an element, and as an element, it references like transmutability. Mercury is both a liquid and a solid at the same time, and it can't change its form outside of that. I don't believe that you can solidify it, and I don't believe you can turn it into a gas. You can't make it any more liquid than it already is. It's also quite toxic, but it's a concept of, I guess, immutability. Really, it's a concept of both things being inherent at the same time and not being able to separate those two concepts from one another. Mercury has multiple spiritual meanings, including, well, yes, I mean, in this it is referring to the Roman god, Mercury. Obviously, you can tell by the way that this person is dressed. Quite Roman. They're tying their shoes, which almost looks like, they almost look like, what's his name? Nike? The one with wings on their feet. In Roman mythology, Mercury was the messenger of the gods and the god of commerce, communication, and financial gain. He also guided the souls to the underworld. So, yeah, the messenger, right? The courier. In astrology, Mercury is a personal planet that represents communication, cognition, expression, travel, technology, and day-to-day affairs. Mercury's position in the sky can impact how people think, talk, and express themselves. Spiritual uses. Mercury has been used in various spiritual practices, including spiritual cleaning. Mercury was used with water and a mop to spiritually clean a dwelling. Warding off evil spirits. Mercury was added to oil lamps and candles to ward off evil spirits. Casting love spells. Mercury was used in various ways to cast love spells. Wearing as a necklace in Indian culture. Solid mercury balls were threaded and worn around the neck to protect against evil spirits, and using in idols. Solid mercury-based Indian idols were used in homes and temples to keep away the evil eye. In Roman mythology, Mercury was a busy guy god. What a weird thing to say. Mercury was a busy guy god. Mercury was in charge of finance, commerce, messages, travelers, thresholds, and trickery. What's more, Mercury was responsible for offering medicinal support for ailing mortals as well as guiding souls into the underworld. And with it being in the reverse, it's giving me this feeling right now of somebody not following. Like, it's like somebody has a job and a directive, but they're using it against people. There's a deceit going on when it comes to finances. This is my second oracle card, and then it lines up with this loop that reminds me of my ex. Saturn is also in the sky with Mercury, the Mercury card. There's the sun, the moon, and Saturn. Saturn being like the god of it's like a god of alchemy, like it's like the number 666, like all of these dark perceptions, but like alchemizing those things into something more positive and powerful. The god of death, but death as in like how the tarot represents it, like transition. It's not innately negative, although it's often perceived to be that. Okay, so the High Priestess and Judgment, I'm seeing the same way. The Two of Cups and the Eight of Coins, both being in the reverse, I'm seeing in the same way. The Magician in the reverse, I'm seeing as like a fucking Wabbajack, which is like, I don't know if it's anything else aside from the Elder Scrolls, but in the Elder Scrolls, it's a magical weapon. Essentially what it does is it like it's like a chaos weapon. Like it's like when you use it, you change something. You never know what you're going to change. You never know what's going to change. You never know how it's going to affect anything. It's like a butterfly effect machine. Like you never know what's going to happen out of it. But even like the slightest little change of things like creates these big changes, and it's pretty much just like chaos and confusion that comes out of using it. But let's say that you're like in the game, I think it was in Morrowind, you use it against this one like the Daedric Prince of Trickery, like Mercury. Okay, so you're using this Wabbajack against this Daedric Prince of trickery, and that's why it's his weapon, but you use it against him, and like he's the master of it, so you wouldn't necessarily think that you would be able to, but like what you end up doing is like first you make him, I don't even fully remember, but I think that like first you make him like super big, and then you're able to like slow him down that way, and then you make him super small and you're able to squash him. It's essentially something like that, right? Like that type of concept. That's what the Wabbajack does. But it also does, like, every time I think of it, I also think of that scene in, which I think that they got from 2001: A Space Odyssey, but I always think of the scene in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy where they go through, well, I think, because now it's reminding me of Interstellar too, when they go through the black hole, but I think in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, it's like because they're in warp speed, I think, is what causes it to happen, but or they like go through a certain part of the universe that like causes everything to change itself by chance. Like first they become like balls of yarn, and then they become like couches, and then like, you know, it's kind of that concept of like everything that was pink is suddenly blue. That's the only thing that changes, and like nobody notices because you just use this weapon. Like it doesn't, but that like does change everything. It's kind of that sort of concept, right? And this magician seems to like, he's sticking out to me. I had such a weird energy from this card, and it's almost like he's like the wild card. It's a loose cannon. It's giving me this feeling of like, it doesn't matter what tactics are being used, what deceit is happening, who it's trying to benefit, you know. There's all these different cards that are saying these things. To those that have a sense of intuition, and like Jake is generally portrayed as having a pretty good intuition because he's a dog. He can like smell those things. He can see things that humans can't, right? It's like, but if you look at his face here, and you look at his position, and you look at how he's like fighting with these evil shadows, and then look at this picture with Lumpy Space Princess. She has the same face, she's in the same position, and she's fighting with the mayor. So it's almost like, you know, and like I said, like in this magician card, like he's pointing here at his boot. He only has the one at leg up, and he's pointing at his boot. And it's the only purple part of the card. Like when you're looking at the card from a distance, like it actually, his boot here stands out a lot. And it's like the sign of being grounded within your intuition, which is why like the Lumpy Space Princess like isn't known for necessarily being super intelligent, but she's purple. She's purple. She's a sign of intuition herself. Jake is a dog. He's known for having this intuition. Rainicorn, his wife, is like fantastical, right? She's a unicorn and a rainbow. So like, and she speaks Japanese or Korean. I think she speaks Korean. And so she's kind of like, she's a little bit flighty. She's very smart. She's witty. She's funny. She's very much like, she's also very traditional, and she's very stern, but she's not necessarily, like Jake is kind of the head of their household. Like he's kind of the one with the brawn and the brains that way. Like, and he has this like command about him. We're like, I'm getting this feeling of their child. This has to be their child. There's no way it isn't. She even has this like, she looks just like Jake, but she has this like long tail. She looks just like Rainicorn. That I guarantee that that's their child. I'm pretty sure I actually remember Rainicorn being pregnant. So that's their kid, for sure. And she's innocent, right? Like she doesn't have intuition. She didn't realize, like, she just fell victim to whatever ploy this is that the mayor has going on. And when she's listening to Lumpy Space Princess, she's kind of almost like, shit, like, am I doing the wrong thing? Am I on the wrong side? Are there sides? Am I really getting played? Like she's starting to see things. She's starting to almost step into her intuition that her dad has naturally. And like he's not afraid of shit. He's not afraid of shit. He has these flowers in his cups, and he's like, I'm not being affected by you. Like, you're not getting these things. You're not affecting me. This card being underneath the High Priestess, and like her face, and like the fact that she, like, her face just looks not right, and like she doesn't even look like her, and the fact that like she has the matrix going on down here, it's kind of like the illusion is based on this specific type of education and these cycles within it, and plugging people into this matrix, and trying to kind of, like, the people are at peace, but it's only because they're unaware, you know. And so if I'm reading these in the backwards, what was I just thinking? It was giving me like this like feeling of like, Like, Jake sees what's going on. He's aware of this matrix. And, like, I think, like, I can almost hear him in my head. And I don't really remember the episode where Bubblegum, like, comes across as being not a good person. She's always seemed like such a good person, and suddenly she's not. And, like, Finn's, like, she's being really mean to Finn. And I just kind of, like, hear in my head almost Jake being, like, I know it's Bubblegum, but, like, don't trust her, Jake. Like, don't trust her, Finn. Like, or, like, she's not right for you. Or something like that. Like, so, like, he's keen to it. We don't have Finn out here at all. But it's like the Six of Wands, like, these crackers are just, like, blissfully unaware of what they're leading themselves into. I think this is a false sense of victory. It's a sense of victory. They very much, like, they have all these medals. There is a sense of victory, but it's leading them directly into the Matrix, controlled by this High Priestess. Jake sees through that and sees what that really is, and he's not falling for it. And that's largely in part because of his intuition. And those that are using their intuition aren't falling for this. You know? Like, Jake's kid already fell for this. The mayor is part of it. But the Lumpy Space Princess is like, no. Mm-mm. And the elephant, Buttercup, like, she's pretty innocent. But she's on the side with the Lumpy Space Princess. So it almost seems like just by chance and, like, through experience, she's learned what's going on. And why would it be her as the beast? It's almost like this feeling of, like, part of the trick is convincing people that, like, truly this two-headed beast, like, it really doesn't matter. And this is a deception. And, like, the beast in of itself is, like, its two different heads are just part of the same beast. But, like, it's almost like because it looks like that elephant, I forget what her name is. I don't know if it's Buttercup. It's something like that. Apple. I don't know what her name is. It's supposed to look like it's innocent, like she is. It's supposed to seem like it's... I mean, this is a war machine. But, like, it's supposed to seem like it's innocent. But in reverse, it's just being very deceptive. It's like there is a union, and people aren't necessarily recognizing that. So they think that there's these two sides. These crackers think that they're going to take over this negative kingdom, not realizing that they're just going to fall victim to it. And only those using their intuition are not falling victim to that. It's almost like, yeah, like they have, like, all these medals that are like coins around their neck. And I counted technically 10, but 2 of them could be just, like, because 2 of the coins are kind of, like, on their side a little bit and you're just seeing the edges. So it could actually be that they have the 8 of coins around their neck, just here. It's seemingly positive, but what's actually happening is that this magic is being used to move these pentacles down onto this new growth. Right? So it's that concept, too, that there's, like, these communications that are happening, but they're actually being twisted. They're being twisted. There's a mask that's being worn, and you're not seeing what's actually going on under the mask, which is this deception. We have air and we have water. Okay. So let me move these up. Okay, so I have a fine, rounded concept of what's going on, but what are we really talking about? Like, what's the actual subject in which this exists? What's the world that this exists in? What are we actually talking about here? I have the storyline. What's like the actual setting for this story as it's taking place? Is this talking about politics? Like, I started with this feeling like it was talking about politics right now, right? Is that what we're talking about? Is politics? Or is this like a personal thing? Because I could take this personally, and I could take like this, you know, that dude reminds me of a couple people. So is this talking about politics? Is it talking about something personal? The first card that came out is the Three of Wands in the reverse. The first thing I'm noticing is that this king, well, this king is very flamboyant. His crossed legs and ballerina shoes. He has a mustache. He's also winking. The first thing I noticed is that he's winking. So there is a deception here. And it's almost, that was something my brother hated about this show too, was that the plays that it started to take on gender roles. It was funny at first for him to see the lumpy space princess because she sounds like a dude, but is not. And at first that was funny, but like the more that they had characters that kind of played that way, the more he had a problem with it. And that's generally like the people that I know that love this show are people that are part of the LGBT community. And that's in part why, because there wasn't really much other representation for those kinds of people. And like I said, like this initial, oh, okay, so we're bringing that out right under, haha. Like I said, we're bringing it out right under this androgynous character that's using the LGBT here as a magic to actually cut out this new growth. Okay, so there is definitely a lot of, like I said too, like with the Matrix being ruled by this feminist energy, there is a lot of gender issues, or gender, yeah, there's a lot of gender issues going on here. Okay. Okay, but we're not, so are we talking politically, socially? Politically or socially? Or both? Politically or socially, or both? And we're talking about these gender issues. Before I say anything more about this Three of Wands, because I will get into that in its placement, I would like to get these other cards out. Politically, socially, or both? Or is this a personal message? Politically, socially, both. Or is this personal? Okay. And then, I guess we'll keep reading like this. We have the Eight of Wands in the upright. So interesting. These cards are wild. Okay. At first, it looked like he had Thor's hammer. And he's running with the Eight of Wands. And then I noticed, like, he looks like water, but he's cracked. So he's actually like ice. And now I'm realizing that it's actually not Thor's hammer, even though it looks like that. It's actually one of those homemade guitars. You have floss. It's a tissue box with floss and a paper towel tube. So is this social, political? I'm getting political or personal. I'm getting that it's political, and that it's, right now it's resonating with me. It's like, right, like it's blue, it's democratic. So it's a bit social, but him looking like water but actually being frozen and being cracked is giving me this concept of like, this old sense of grassroots style, like, is actually being used as a weapon. So like this sense, up until now, the sense that we've had of democracy is being used as a weapon. And here I'm seeing this then as Republican, and it being like, oh, when I say that, it's giving me this feeling of aristocracy, autocracy, like an aristocrat type energy, and an autocracy, like a pyramid scheme. Like this guy like feels like a Freemason, right? And it feels like because he's winking and he's got those fancy shoes, and it's kind of like everybody thinks that it's the Democrats that are promoting certain ideas and fighting for certain ideas. But that's an old, cracked concept. And really, it only appears to be that way when actually it's frozen. It's not even, it's water, but it's also a solid. It's being used in a different way. Something colder. And it's like this sense of like, it's like, because it actually is, it's like a noisemaker, like it's coming out. He has a noisemaker. It's a homemade. It's interesting because it's come out right under the 3 of coins, which we have the thunder sheet, right? So like, it's a sense of like making noise, having a band, making music. But there's this deception, his cracked forehead, like there's this deception in it that's like, it's not, it's not really, sorry, it's not really what it's being made out to be. And this guy being directly under, like I said, like, so this is actually a play on like he's this king, he's the king of Candyland. But he don't look like a good person either. Just like Princess Buttercup, or Bubblegum's face. He has like this like pleasant look on his face, but he also has his eyebrows down like he's actually up to no good. He has a smile, but he looks like he's up to no good. And it being directly under the 8 of coins, like I was saying, like it has this feeling of like using the LGBT in a way that crushes this new growth and then actually is leading to judgment. And him being on top of it, but in the reverse, is giving me this feeling of like, because it's in the reverse, these are both in the reverse. So it's almost like the magic is coming down from him. And it's this concept of like, although she's the princess, although feminism has been put in this position of power over this matrix, in reality, that's because there's I knocked this over as I was touching that card. There's a mask being worn and a knot being tied, and that marriage is actually between this king in the reverse, which is like old tradition, actually hiding its manipulative tactic to fuck with these gender roles, more or less, I guess. Or to at least use it to stop new growth and to, yeah, it's like using this divine abundance well, it's not divine abundance, this hard work and abundance against new growth. And the marriage that it's referring to, the knot that's being tied, is between these two. Between these two. They're just two faces of the same beast. Two wings of the same bird. Okay, and so like as I'm reading them all the way down, then I'm seeing that like this comes all the way to the Three of Wands, and then it moves into the Two of Cups. So that's like, you know, that's why he's winking, because it's kind of this depiction of everything that we know, and then moving into it being like this secret of like, it's not actually what it looks like. And then that moves down into the Eight of Wands, it moves into the Six of Wands. So it's like this sense of like, all of these skills are being used, all of these concepts are being used in a manipulative way in order to bring a sense of victory. This is all connected though. Can I have, this just came up that I'm already over an hour again and that it's about to end. So I'm just taking these two cards off the top, and we have the Page of Cups in the reverse, directly under the Magician in the reverse, and we have the Eight of Cups in the upright, directly under the Six of Cups in the upright. And these two look similar to each other, because they're both in the reverse and they're both holding up this cup. The Magician is used in the reverse to, how about the Page of Cups is in reverse? What is this guy? A banana? Half of a banana? In the water. Man, I don't want this to go into 3 videos, but this is going to cut off at any moment. I only have 2 cards left. This is like innocence of love and affection and understanding of our emotions and ourselves being taken away or being exploited or being waged war against, or like the, you know, everything's come up against this and kind of made it so that we can't just be in our innocence. We can't just be in our innocence any longer. And so then I have the Eight of Cups representing like the importance of recognizing what it is that we have and being willing to walk away and not playing these games. Ultimately, the walking away card is the last card that we have, and it's like, don't fall victim to these things. Don't be afraid. Like, it's directly under the Six of Cups, which I've already connected to the Three of Coins. Like, don't be afraid to stand up for what you believe. And don't be afraid to walk away. Because there's something better out here. We might just have no time. There's something better. These cards come out so easily. I haven't even gotten to the rest of the deck. There's something better out there. The Milky Way. The universe is in the palm of our hands. opportunity, alchemy, the capacity to be able to take all things and use them however we choose to. That is our power, and we have that power. But we have to put that to use that way. Don't buy into the lies, don't buy into the deceit, don't buy into the commerce and the finances and the sense of relationships and these unions and the fear of losing our power and all of these people worshiping a false god and all of the bits of the matrix where everybody's just comforted by being able to shut off and these false senses of victory. That's not where the truth lies. The truth is lying in our capacity to truly know ourselves and trust our intuition. Everything else, even everything that this in the reverse, everything that the magician has, like, is for naught. It's all just part of the chaos. But you have to be able to stand up for what you believe and to know who you really are and to not let anything take that away. Don't let anything take that away. You can trust yourself enough to walk away. This is a strong man. I haven't seen this character before, but they are a strong man. And, you know, this is always within our capacity, is to walk away from these things. Yes, there's a lot being used against us here. There's a lot of deceit that's happening. There's a lot underneath the surface that I haven't even been able to explain. There's a lot under the surface that's happening that isn't necessarily seen. There's a lot of trickery, a lot of different both-sided things. What seems to be positive isn't necessarily positive. What appears to be negative isn't innately negative. But don't let them use your goodness. Don't let them use your truth. Don't let them use your power, your vibrancy, all of the different aspects of who you are that makes you an individual. Don't let them use those things against you and against the personal growth and against the, these bits of yourself that you've worked so hard to develop. You don't have to be innocent. You don't have to be pure. You don't have to be ignorant in order to be right. In fact, those things aren't going to end up serving you. The world is in your hands. Opportunity is in your hands. Know yourself, and these things will be yours. That's basically what I said at the beginning of this, so I think that that's sufficient for right now. This was so crazy. These cards are wild. I think I might just do another read after this, maybe clear my energy, do something, and then do another read after this with the Hermetic cards. I don't know for sure, but thank you for listening. Hopefully this was helpful in such wild times right now. I know emotions are high. I know people are acting all crazy, saying a lot of crazy things. Don't say things you don't mean. Don't act like, love your brother, love your neighbor, love yourself, take care of yourself, take care of those around you. Don't let fear rob you of the opportunity to make the world yours. Your power is and will forever be yours. Even if you are entirely enslaved, your power is still yours. It's only the lack of awareness that leads to actually being overtaken into the matrix, or the desire to be convened rather than to actually do the work in order to create something better and more sustainable. So don't fall into those things. The energy is high. I'm excited though. There's good things in the future. Just keep trusting, just keep moving forward, just keep doing what you know you're supposed to do, and you will see it too. And I will see you there. And I will see you in the next read.